Sitting at the crossroads for traders and invaders for hundreds of years, Central Asia has had a mix of different people pass through their territory. They have had each leave their own unique and lasting influences on the culture of the region. Before the advent of modern sailing ships, the best route for trade between Europe, Africa, and Eastern Asia was through the territories that are now Central Asia. Beginning in about 100 BC, merchants traveled along the Chinese route to trade European gold and wool for Chinese spices and silk. As a result, this route came to be called by Europeans the Silk Road. Cities along the road began to grow. By 1500, the situation in Central Asia had changed significantly. Europeans discovered that they could sail around the tip of Africa to East Asia and the Indian Ocean. As trade declined through Central Asia, the region became more isolated and more poor. Because of its location along the Silk Road, many groups of people were interested in Central Asia. This led group after group to swarm into the region and to conquer the local peoples. Among the first group to establish a lasting influence in the region were the Turkic-speaking nomads who came from northern Asia around AD 500. 200 years later, Arab armies took over much of the region. They brought a new religion, Islam, to Central Asia. Many of the beautiful mosques in Central Asia date from around the time of the Arab arrival. Arabs, followed by other invaders, began to rule Central Asia until the 1200s. Mongol armies came in the 1200s and conquered Central Asia and destroyed many cities with their violent attacks. Eventually, their empire would crumble. With the fall of the Mongols, various tribes of peoples, such as the Uzbeks, Kazakhs, and Turkmens, moved into parts of the region and established regional kingdoms for their specific ethnic group. In the mid-1800s, Russians became the next group to move in and conquer Central Asia. Although Russians built railroads and expanded cotton and oil production, people resented their rule. And after the Russian Revolution of 1917, the new Soviet government wanted to weaken resistance to its rule. They did this by dividing the land into republics. The Soviets encouraged ethnic Russians to move into these areas and other people to settle on government-owned farms. The Soviets built huge irrigation projects to improve cotton production and to increase the amount of goods that could be brought into this region for the maximum amount of profit. The Soviet Union then collapsed in 1991. As the Soviet government and economy fell apart, it could no longer control its huge territory. The Central Asian republics finally became independent countries. The people who came through Central Asia either to trade, to settle, or to conquer left a lasting influence on the culture of the region. They brought language and religion, ways of life, architecture, and travel. For centuries, Central Asians have made a living by raising horses, cattle, sheep, and goats. Many herders still live today as nomads. Nomads are people who move often from place to place. The nomads will move their herds from mountain pastures in the summer to lowland pastures in the winter. Today, most people in Central Asia live in more permanent settlements, but many others still live as nomads. Their nomadic lifestyle is especially common in Kyrgyzstan. Unique homes called yurts make moving with the herds possible. A yurt is a movable round house made of wool felt mats hung over a wooden frame. Today, the yurt is a symbol of the region's pride and its nomadic heritage. Even as people live in cities, they put up yurts for special occasions such as weddings or funerals. Most people in Central Asia today belong to one of several ethnic groups that are part of a larger ethnic group called Turkic. Some of these ethnic groups are Kazakhs, Kurds, Turkmen, and Uzbeks. Another group is ethnic Russians who came to Central Asia when Russia conquered the region and encouraged their movement. They still live in every Central Asian country today. Each ethnic group speaks its own language. In most countries in the region, more than one language is spoken. When the Russians conquered Central Asia, they established their own language as the official language for business and government. In most of these countries of Central Asia, it is still the official language. The Russians also introduced the Cyrillic Alphabet. The alphabet is used to write Russian language. Most countries in Central Asia now use the Latin alphabet, which is the one used to write English. Afghanistan also has its own alphabet. It is used for writing Pashto, one of that country's official languages. Just as people in the region are of many different ethnic groups and speak different languages, they also practice different religions. Traders and conquerors brought their religious beliefs and practices to the region. Islam, brought by the Arabs, is the main religion of Central Asia. Some people there also practice Christianity, with most of the Christians belonging to the Orthodox Church of Russia. During the Soviet era, the government closed or destroyed more than 35,000 religious buildings such as mosques, churches, and Islamic schools. However, since the end of the Soviet Union in 1991, many religious buildings have reopened. They are in use once again and are also beautiful symbols of the region's past.